My name is Elena Sharpay. I'm 34 years old, a senior advisor in aerospace procurement at the Department of Defense. And tomorrow, I'll be sitting across from my father and brother in a classified joint contractor review in Huntsville, Alabama. What they don't know is that I'm the government official with the authority to greenlight or kill the entire project. 7 years ago, I walked out of this house for the last time, suitcase in hand, after yet another dinner where my decision to join federal service instead of climbing the corporate ladder was called a waste. My father scoffed that government work was for people who couldn't make it in business. That was our last real conversation. Tonight, I'm back for family dinner. My mother will brag about Ethan's new executive title. My father will beam. Someone will ask if I'm still doing that office job in D.C. I won't argue. I won't correct them, because tomorrow when their CEO introduces me as Ms. Sharp, Senior Defense Liaison, and hands me the agenda with my name on the cover, the silence will do all the explaining. Let them have their assumptions tonight. Tomorrow rewrites everything. The driveway looked smaller than I remembered. My government-leased sedan barely fit between the flaking garden bed and the rusting mailbox. I turned off the engine and sat for a moment. My hands were steady, professional, but my gut swirled like it used to before a classified briefing. The porch light buzzed faintly, casting amber light on the peeling door frame and the mat that still read "Bless this mess." I rang the bell. Habit. "Elena?" my mom called from inside. "It's open," she added, not moving. Of course it was. I stepped inside. Same lavender air freshener. Same photo wall. Ethan's MBA ceremony, his engagement, his newborn twins. Not the single one of me. Not even the official photo from the secretary's office. "Dinner's almost done," Mom said, eyes on the stovetop. "Ethan and Rachel are bringing the wine. Oh, and Ethan just got another promotion." I smiled lightly. "That's wonderful, Mom. Make sure to toast to him. He's heading up strategic operations now. Everyone says he's really going places." That phrase used to cut. Now, it barely echoed. The table was set for 6. There was no place card, but the seating spoke for itself. Ethan at the head, Dad to his right, Mom between them, and me. Well, somewhere on the margin. Ethan and Rachel walked in at exactly 6:00 p.m., as punctual as ever. He wore a slim-fit blazer, the kind that says, "I'm the future," without seeming to care. Rachel handed over a bottle of boutique wine that none of us liked but everyone would pretend to admire. "Hey, Elena," Ethan said, giving me a brief one-armed hug, already glancing past me toward Dad. "Been a while," he added. 7 years, I replied calmly. He paused, unsure if I was exaggerating. It wasn't. We had roast chicken, scalloped potatoes, and the same Caesar salad Mom had been making since I was a kid. Ethan led the conversation with practiced ease. Updates on cross-department synergies, his leadership on the new defense initiative, whispers of a potential VP track. Dad looked like he might burst with pride. "And you?" Mom turned to me, her smile fragile, rehearsed. "Still doing that job with the government?" I took a slow sip of water, more or less. "Still mid-level, or did you move up a bit?" Dad asked, eyes locked on his plate. "Something like that." "Must be hard," Ethan said, nodding sympathetically. "No big picture strategy, right? Just executing orders?" I didn't answer. I didn't need to. My DoD badge was zipped in the inside pocket of my suitcase upstairs, along with a uniform bearing the insignia of a full GS-15 senior executive with oversight of defense partnerships their entire firm depended on. Tomorrow, they'd learn exactly how much strategy I was in charge of. For now, I let them talk. It would be the last time I sat quietly in that room. Later, I found myself upstairs, perched on the edge of my old twin bed. The same faded quilt still folded neatly across it. The walls hadn't changed. Lined with trophies, AP certificates, acceptance letters, every symbol of the version of me they once embraced. Everything before the ROTC scholarship. After that, I'd become the lesson, the one who threw it all away. Not a single plaque or award from the career I built. To them, I had vanished. Until tomorrow. I wasn't the daughter who chose her own path. I was the daughter who, in their eyes, squandered hers. Downstairs, their laughter floated upward. Dad's deep bark, Mom's murmured affirmations, Ethan's booming confidence. It was the sound of a well-oiled legacy machine cheering for its chosen heir. I'd grown numb to it, but now the irony nearly made me laugh. Ethan had just been promoted to lead the integration team for the exact military contract I'd been assigned to evaluate. He had no idea, none of them did. At 900 tomorrow, I would walk into Falcon Systems HQ in Huntsville, wearing my uniform, briefing the C-suite as the Department of Defense's lead liaison for Project Meridian, and dissect the very framework Ethan had bragged about between spoonfuls of mashed potatoes. Back in my old room, I opened my suitcase and gently lifted the press uniform. Midnight blue, regulation trim, tailored for my rank. My ribbons and commendations aligned in military precision. The silver eagle insignia gleamed under the low light of the bedside lamp. I polished each button with a cloth I always kept for briefings. My hands worked without thought. This wasn't about anger. It was about execution, discipline, and command presence. It was about finally being seen in a way no one at that dinner table could minimize or reinterpret. The next morning, I pulled into Falcon Systems 15 minutes early. The parking lot was alive with suits, ID badges, and frantic phone calls. I eased into the reserved slot. DoD Senior Liaison, authorized personnel only. I stepped out in full uniform. Adjusted my collar. Heads turned. Conversations quieted. "Good morning, Colonel Sharp," the guard said, scanning my clearance badge with immediate deference. Inside, I bypassed reception. I already knew the layout, studied it weeks ago. No room for missteps. The elevator opened to the executive level. The first face I saw was Ethan, flipping through a sleek touch screen. He looked up, relaxed, until he saw me. "Elena, what are you wearing?" His voice trailed. I didn't pause. "Good morning, Mr. Sharp," I said evenly. "I'm here for the Project Meridian review." Behind him, my father's voice echoed, deep in conversation with two men in identical tailored suits. If you've ever been underestimated by your own family, hit that subscribe button, because what happens next, when Elena steps into that boardroom, is something you won't want to miss. Then, Ethan saw me, and froze. "Elena, what's going on? Why are you dressed like that?" he asked, his voice uncertain, eyes flicking between me and the onlookers in the hall. He was trying to read the room, but the realization came too slow. Before I could answer, a tall woman with crisp posture and sharp white hair turned the corner. Marla Kensington, CEO of Falcon Systems, paused the moment she saw me, then broke into a warm, surprised smile. She walked straight over and extended a hand. "Colonel Sharp, I wasn't aware you'd be attending in person." "A pleasure," I replied, shaking her hand. "I happened to be in town. Thought it best to sit in on today's session." "Absolutely," Marla said with a nod. "You elevate any room you walk into." Then she turned to the group clustered around us. "For those not yet introduced, this is Colonel Elena Sharp, our Pentagon liaison for Project Meridian. She holds final authority for all military interface approvals on the contract." The hallway fell silent, compressed and breathless. I didn't look at my father or Ethan. I didn't need to. Their stunned silence spoke volumes. Marla and I entered the boardroom side by side. My name was already printed on the placard at the head of the table just beside hers. I took my seat, reviewing the notes I'd marked last night. Executives and engineers trickled in, each one taking extra care to greet me formally. Professional, deferential, alert. A few looked startled by my age. Some registered surprise that the Pentagon liaison was a woman. None asked twice after spotting the insignia. Ethan and Dad were among the last to enter. They sat further down, rigid and quiet. At 900 sharp, Marla opened the session and handed it over to me. "We're honored to have Colonel Sharp joining us in person," she said. "Her input has already strengthened key components of our cybersecurity framework." I stood, nodded, and began. I briefed the room, outlined phase gate revisions, and listed my expected benchmarks. I met every speaker's gaze. I asked follow-ups. I requested timelines. Then Ethan rose, visibly shaken. As lead on systems integration, I've been coordinating the Phase 2 rollout. I believe we're aligned with the target metrics. I waited, arms crossed. Then I spoke. Mr. Sharp, I said, voice even and direct. Could you clarify how your rollout strategy addresses the latency thresholds outlined in the latest DoD memo? Ethan blinked. I can revisit that section. You'll need to. The technical benchmarks are non-negotiable, I replied. Please revise the implementation draft and resubmit it by close of business Thursday. He nodded quickly. Yes, ma'am. The room stilled for a beat. Then the meeting continued. I transitioned smoothly into the next agenda item, my tone steady, my focus absolute, as if nothing had happened. But something had. We adjourned just after noon. Marla closed the session with brief remarks about transparency and high-stakes partnerships, then turned to me. Colonel Sharp will remain on-site through tomorrow to oversee follow-up assessments, she said. Please provide her full access and cooperation. This project is mission-critical for both national security and our future collaborations. As the room emptied, I felt the shift. The stares had changed, not laced with doubt, but respect. The curiosity had dissolved into recognition. I hadn't demanded this position. I had earned it. Through the glass wall of the conference room, I saw my father standing alone in the hallway, still as a statue. He looked like a man who'd expected applause, and got a verdict. Elena, he said once we were alone, his tone unsteady but still trying to sound firm, we need to talk. I nodded. Your office? He hesitated, then led me down the hall. Inside, the air felt stale. My mother sat in a visitor's chair, stiff and silent. Ethan stood at the window, arms crossed like he was bracing for impact. The three of them lined up like a tribunal from my childhood. I didn't sit. I stood at ease, calm and grounded. How long have you been a colonel? My father asked. 6 months, I replied. 6 months, he echoed, more to himself than to me. And you didn't tell us? I did, I said. I sent invitations, left voicemails, articles. You never responded. He looked for a defense, but Mom cut in. We didn't understand what it meant. Colonel, that sounds high, but why didn't you explain? Because I stopped needing your permission to succeed. Ethan frowned. We thought you were stuck, just transferring bases, floating. I looked at him. You said last night that people in the military just follow orders, I said, my voice calm but direct. You laughed while saying it. Ethan shifted, his expression tightening. I didn't know you were doing this. You never asked, I said again. My mother reached toward her handbag, then stopped. Elena, I don't even know what to say. We should have been there. Your commissioning, your promotions, your ceremony. I thought you were shutting us out. No, I replied. I just stopped waiting for you to show up. The silence that followed was taut, uncomfortable, but necessary. My father cleared his throat. So, what do you want now? Public recognition? A profile in our quarterly bulletin? Some kind of... I shook my head. I don't want anything, except what I've always earned. Respect. For my work, for my choices, for not failing simply because I didn't follow your version of success. Ethan stepped away from the window, more subdued now. You reviewed my report today, and you were fair. You didn't use that moment to embarrass me. I wasn't there to embarrass anyone, I said. I was there to do my job. He gave a small nod. It was impressive. Honestly, you were commanding. It might have been the first real compliment I'd ever heard from him. My father rose from his seat, but didn't move closer. You've built something we don't understand, he said. That's on us. We thought we knew better. His voice cracked slightly. We didn't. And for the first time, I heard humility in him. Not regret, but the beginning of understanding. He extended his hand, not ceremonially, but with quiet sincerity, a gesture I recognized from 100 promotions and review boards. "Colonel Sharp," he said, voice low, "I owe you an apology. I underestimated you, completely." I took his hand, firm grip, no resentment, just resolution. "I accept." My mother blinked hard and stood. "We'd like to try again, if you'll let us." "One step at a time," I said. And for the first time in years, I believed that might be possible. 6 months later, my apartment in Washington, D.C. was quiet, but full. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the Potomac, bookshelves stacked with cybersecurity manuals, ribbons, and 1 or 2 framed commendations. Not too much, just enough. That evening, my family joined me for dinner. For once, at my table, on my terms, in my city. My father arrived first, carrying a neatly framed magazine article. "Figured you might want a copy," he said. It was a print feature from Defense Today, highlighting the success of Project Meridian. My photo sat in the center. Me, in full dress uniform, standing between General Armstrong and Marla Kensington. He handed it to me like it was something precious. "I've had this up in my office for a few months now," he added, eyes briefly flicking away. "Thanks, Dad," I said. "That means something." My mother arrived next, holding a still warm pie dish in both hands. "Apple," she offered with a tentative smile. "Still your favorite, right?" I did. She glanced around the apartment, clean, minimalist, disciplined. "It was so organized," she murmured. "I don't know how you keep it this way." I almost said military training, but held my tongue. She was trying. That was enough. Ethan and his wife came last, bringing a sleek bottle of wine and a pair of crystal glasses. After dinner, as dishes clinked in the background and conversation softened into something that resembled peace, Ethan pulled me aside. "I used the rollout model you suggested," he said. "Team pushed back at first, but it's working, better than what we had." "Did you tell them where you got it?" I asked. He smirked. "Eventually. After I let them think I was brilliant for 5 minutes." I smiled. "As long as it works." He nodded. "It does. And so do you. I mean, you've really got it together." "You've never said that before." "No, I haven't, but I'm saying it now." Across the room, I noticed my father quietly studying the medals on my shelf. His eyes lingered on one, the Cyber Defense Citation, awarded after I helped prevent a dual network federal breach. "I read about that one," he said softly. "Didn't realize it was you." "It was," I said. He didn't reply, he just nodded. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't cinematic, but it was real. Later, as coffee brewed and we shared my mother's pie, my father raised his glass. "To Colonel Elena Sharp," he said, "who proved that worth isn't found in following someone else's path, but in walking your own." We all raised our glasses. And in that moment, I saw something I never had before. Recognition. Not obligation, not pity. Respect. The earned kind, the lasting kind. And I realized the most important thing. The victory wasn't them seeing me, it was that I never stopped becoming me, without needing their permission. If my story spoke to you, if you've ever been underestimated, overlooked, or told your path wasn't enough, leave me a comment. Tell me where you are in your journey. I read them all. And if you believe in rising quietly and proving loudly, subscribe. Keep building even when no one's watching. Because the strength you're growing now, one day, it'll walk into the room before you even speak. The annual Rivera family dinner was in full swing at El Marisco Azul.